Podcasting 2.0 for January 8th, 2021. This is episode 19. We're scaling up. Woo! And yet again, another Friday meeting of the board. We have a full quorum. That's 2 out of 3. And it's good to be a podcaster. Adam Curry here in Austin, Texas. And I present to you the man who can explain podcasting 2.0 with far less hype than myself, Dave Jones.
I'm assuming you're referring to my recent interview in the Podcast Business Journal.
Yes, Podcast Business Journal Spotlight. Hello, Spotlight.
Yeah. It was. Somehow I managed to get the word Pornhub in the interview. I'm sure they really appreciated that.
There should be a boost bounty of 1,000 sats every single time someone uses Pornhub in an interview. That's a very good idea. Very good idea.
In retrospect, maybe not the best example of...
What's interesting is, I know the story, and I know you've heard me tell it a million times. And I was really loving how... First of all, and I said this to you privately, man, you got a great voice when you're just Dave Jones. And, well, let me tell you how all this works, And
Thank you, Adam.
And you have these thoughtful pauses between, the question and the answer. I'm a little envious. It's just not me. So I can never do that, but you're very good at it. And you're enjoyable to listen to. I was like, oh, Dave Jones, just read the phone book to me.
It's my stage persona, Adam.
Well, your stage persona kicks ass. It was good, though. You did a really good job of it. I enjoyed it. Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah, it was an easy interview. I think we should be called experts at this point in time when we get interviewed. I mean, like any time in the media somebody's interviewed, they just say, whatever experts.
So, right. Sources familiar with the industry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, experts familiar with the industry. Yeah, that'll work.
Podcasting experts, Dave Jones and Adam Curry.
Yes.
Say so and so.
Oh, man, so much is going on. I wanted to get them something out of the way right off the bat because I feel a little bad about something. I mean, not really, but I just want to set the record straight. Not with you. We're all good, brother. No, Rob Greenley. Of Libsyn, who had told me privately that Libsyn was going to support the Podcast Index namespace. And that kind of spun out into something which I was like, wow, what's going on here? And I'd asked him, said, can I say this publicly? He hadn't replied to me. And then I heard him mention it himself on the New Media Show. And he said it, and so I brought it up when we were talking to James Cridland, and then, but I think the headline is kind of what made this a little weird, is because I don't think even in his private message to me, he was like, we're going to support this. We got a lot going on. And that's kind of what I hear his answer was when he was queried about this. Well, we're not, we got a lot going on. We got a new interface. We support the index, but it wasn't, I think he was pushing back on the idea that they were going to put their head down and go work on it. And it kind of spun into, and I just feel there's a rift here, which is unnecessary because just wording, and it's, in a way, it's, it was kind of a headline thing that spun this out a little bit out of control. Yeah. So,
yeah, Rob didn't have the best day yesterday, I don't think.
No, and there's one other thing, because I've been following this change at the Board of Governors, what's it called? The the Podcast Academy.
Yeah.
And which I don't think I've been a member. Maybe I was a member. I don't know. I don't know exactly what it does, but I've never.
You don't know what you're a member of and what you're not.
I don't. I am a member of the Hair Club for Men, if that helps.
Oh, yeah.
Throwback, Joe. Throwback, everybody.
Straight up 89.
Earlier, Cy Sperling. He passed away this past year, I think.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, what a great pitch, man. Great company. I mean, I'm reliably informed. So I'm not quite
see him.
So
the hair plugs.
The RSS Academy, or the Podcast Academy, it wants to be some kind of governing body, which is, it's kind of weird when you think about it, because just like no person is the same, no podcast is the same. We see the index. It's a very diverse universe across the world, And the main thing is kind of these technical issues, which we just grabbed and ran with. And all of a sudden you see the spark and people are like, well, if these guys are just saying, F it, let's do it. Let's all jump on board. And, so now we're scaling. And this is very nice to see. I just wanted to give a word of warning, because when I heard that, and I'm not quite sure what happened over there at the Academy. And, then it was Rob was stepping down and somehow someone said, oh no, we're replacing him, which is like, if you're replacing someone who's done a service, and then you want to let some people off the hook nicely, so if he's stepping down, let him step down. It was a shitty move. And I'm going to tell you right now what's coming with this Board of Governors, because I was listening to a very interesting podcast. I can't remember. Damn, I wish I remember what it was. Short one about podcasting. And, they are adding Delray McKessen to the Board of Governors.
Yes, I noticed that. That stood out to me too, yeah.
And Delray McKessen, I know from one of the earlier Mo Facts with Adam Curry shows. This guy is a serious activist. And Black Lives Matter, okay, but he's from Black Lives Matter Inc. He's from the money side. And this guy is going to, I predict he's going to cause a lot of ruckus, and people are going to be so worried about things that really don't pertain to the issues that podcasting has. I prefer to make podcasting more open and more diverse for everybody by fixing the actual infrastructure and what needs to be done between in development. And this feels to me like you're going to get a top-down, nasty-ass push, and it's going to be about the unions. And it's going to ruin any. I'm just saying, this is my experience. I don't know Delray McKesson. I only know what has been discussed about him and what I've read. Just seems like that's going to be a big pain in the ass, and I think it's a big mistake. I think whatever they're doing there, this is not going to turn out well.
Yeah, it's fun. I don't know much about the Podcast Academy, but I think there's a lot of question marks about what actually, other than, aren't they the ones that do the Ambies? Like the awards and all that?
I really don't know. They did at some point I thought there was a podcast awards that they did, and then there was the Podcaster Hall of Fame, and I don't know. I really don't know. I have no idea.
It's just a different set of philosophies there, because if you're trying to, this goes back, I think, to our problems with all, and why we've done things the way we've done it, is the problems with standards bodies and working groups and 501c3s and all this kind of stuff. If the answer to the problems with diversity and equality and these kinds of things is just putting somebody on the board, a different person on the board of your nonprofit, that doesn't change anything. It doesn't really change. That doesn't actually change boots on the way things are on the ground.
It's also not. It's not a problem. There's no problem with anybody. Anybody can start a podcast. It's open to all.
Yeah.
This is what's insane to me. Now, if you want to be on Spotify or highlighted on Spotify, yeah, I can see people going after that. Oh, you only highlighted 3 black podcasters. Oh, the white ones. Yeah, it's like, that's the shit they're going to do. It's unproductive, I think. Unproductive.
Yeah, I don't understand what I guess I just don't understand what the top-down approach does. I don't see what it gets you, other than just like some news releases and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Some press stuff.
Yeah.
But then at the end of the day, you really have to help people. I guess it would be more impressive if there's going to be like a political approach to this thing, which who knows what this will be. But if it's going to be sort of a political thing, it would be more impressive to me if you had somebody that said, we're going to start this other organization that is going to actually help give grants and that kind of thing. Like, put money where your mouth is and actually help get those things started, rather than just pressuring from, because it seems like it's going to end up being, if it plays out that way, as a political organizing type thing.
Pressure. It's going to be a pressure group.
Advertising pressure group.
Yeah. Yeah.
And see, because that's kind of
the way
it always is.
Yeah, that will implode it. That will implode it, man. It's just not a smart way. Anyway, I just wanted to say I like Rob Greenley. From this point on, when Libsyn starts implementing the namespace, we'll know we've achieved success. So now we have a marker. It's like, I'm okay with it. And I wanted to quell any like, oh, Libsyn sucks, because they got all kinds of stuff going on over there. Everybody has stuff going on. So
yeah, and they seem to really be focused on that new version of their Libsyn 5 stuff and all that. So I think they're very busy right now.
But if we achieve enough scale where their clients, their customers are saying, hey, we want these tags, they'll implement them. Mm-hmm. That's it. So, and I love what Cridland does. Cridland was absolutely right to report this, but he reports it like a reporter, which is why you listen to it. So nuance and everything. But yeah, I agree. Rob probably didn't have a good day.
Yeah. It's a lot of, oh, wait, I said this, but wait, I said this. But it's like just so much backtracking yesterday on all kinds of things.
Now we have an exciting guest we're going to bring in a moment. One of the Podcasting 2.0 developers who's been using the podcast, I think started when we popped up. He popped up pretty quickly. And keep it a secret and a surprise for now. Mm-hmm. I just wanted to touch briefly on what we're doing with the Lightning payments, so people kind of have an idea of where we're at. We cannot talk stats. No, we can't talk stats.
The Dred Scott told me straight up the last episode sucked.
It was hard. Yeah, he said it was hard, man. But I appreciate him getting all. Dred Scott, who you'll find on podcastindex.social, was also doing the chapter markers and images for everything I produce, I think. But certainly for this podcast, we appreciate it. And it shows the power of podcasting 2.0, where you can have the listener is participating in the process. It's very, very enjoyable. And I love it because I'm like, oh, what did he choose? What did he find important? It's fun to see. So where we're at right now is we have still an incredibly successful proof of concept with Sphinx Chat. Sphinx is having some routing and some issues itself. I mean, this is all pretty new, and we all of a sudden we dropped in an additional 14 to 20,000 transactions a month that everyone's dealing with, which is quite excessive use compared to what anyone has seen in the Lightning network.
We really hijacked their whole thing for a while.
Oh, totally. Clogged up channels, everything. Real money was flowing. Real money's flowing. But Paul Etoy has been fantastic. He's been helping everybody. And the main thing we're waiting on is some scale. We'd like to show more people, have more people see it. And Dave and I have been working on a couple other ways to get this going. With some other players in the market. So, there's Graham at voltage.io. I'm very excited about working with him because we have a specific way of putting a new proof of concept into place. You want to talk about that real briefly? Because I think this is probably the most exciting progression we've had of this system, of the value for value pledge model.
What do you want me to talk to specifically?
Well, I'll tell you what I think we're going to do with him, and then maybe you can fill in the missing bits and the technical information.
Okay, yeah, because I think it's going to be, if I'm not mistaken, it may end up being similar to what Podstation and Guillermo I struggle to say his name. With what he's doing with. When he showed his proof of concept. Right,
because he all of a sudden popped up, and there he is. He's like, oh, look, watch this. Hold my beer, boys.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
But I think he has a way of, well, anyway, I'll tell you what the wireframe of the idea is. You have any podcast. It's all working. This is the future. You have any podcast app, and you hear your favorite podcast that you're listening to, your host say, hey, join the pledge model. Look at your podcast app right now, and there's a little icon, and it's for the pledge. And you hit that, and up pops hey, do you want to have a podcast wallet? You want $10 in here? Okay, yep, put in your credit card. Alternatively, if you have Bitcoin, you can do it that way. And then it's authenticated, paid. You set your value slider, how many sats you want to send a minute, and you're done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's the dream.
That's the dream, and the only thing that makes that complicated in the current iteration of it is that if it involves potentially a macaroon thing.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to work to get around, and I don't know if it's possible or not. But because see, that's the thing with Voltage, you can buy your node, but you're not really. They've got that set up where it's like you put your credit card in and you buy your node, but that's different. There's no currency conversions or anything like that taking place.
Oh no, there's no UX at all really for a simple user, and there's no channels. There's lots of stuff we got to work on.
Yeah, because he doesn't have to do any of the know your customer stuff and all that kind of stuff because the KYC thing, because he's not actually. He's getting paid to run the virtual hardware. He's not getting paid to buy you cryptocurrency.
Exchange money. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and so that's where it gets tricky. Is like we got to figure out a way to be able to interact with a node in a way that doesn't put all that stuff into place. Because I don't think he wants to get involved in that either. With KYC and all that, because that's a big pain in the butt. Right,
and then there's the next opportunity to do that is possibly with LSAT, but that's where the macaroon comes in. So anyway, we're pushing, and
trying, yeah.
And while we're pushing, Breeze Wallet, they're still heads down on development, and their idea is to come out with an app that you can just get in the App Store and it's good to go. You still have to fill it up with Bitcoin, and you can do that through an exchange in their app. So I'm like the kid who has his nose pressed against the window, looking in, seeing that thing they really want, and just scheming and devising, like, how can I get on the other side of that window? I can see
Santa. I'm right here.
I can see it all. All right. Do you have anything else that we need to go over? Everything, do we need to do sexy namespace talk today, or?
Yeah, we do need to do a little bit of sexy namespace talk. We can do that with Martin, though.
Oh, that's a good idea. And you got clips too. I'm kind of saying this because I see something really nice here in I haven't listened to it.
Yeah, let's. You want to bring Martin in?
Yeah,
and we'll drop our new jingle.
Oh my God, ladies and gentlemen, wake the kids, alert the neighbors. We're dropping a new jingle. Woohoo! Speaking of jingles, the man who brought us our first jingle ever. In fact, I'm going to play it for you right here.
You have been listening to Podcasting 2.0. Visit podcastindex.org for more information.
Which was his gift to us. Ladies and gentlemen, from Denmark, we have the developer of Podfriend, and just seems like a super nice guy. We introduce Martin Mouritzen to you.
Hi, I'm extremely happy to be here. And first of all, I just want to say that I think that it's a bit unfair that they made Robert Greenley step down just because Libsyn didn't want to implement the new namespace.
And he's funny, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep.
You're just trying to pile on James Cridland is what you're doing. More headlines that he has to defend as if he was the one that did it.
Hey, yep. So Martin, I have so many questions. I need to ask a couple of basic things because you live in what the United Nations has deemed the happiest place on earth. Everybody knows it. Denmark is the best place to live.
Yep.
And what do you think that is? Is it your life-work balance generally? Because of all the people I've ever seen in my life, I think you have the best.
I think it's the work-life balance, and it's probably also like our social security net that, like, if you lose your job, you don't end up on the street. And no matter how rich or poor your parents are, you can still take an education. You can still go to the university and college. You will even get paid to do so. I think it's that you don't have to worry as much, but I also think that in the media, they always say that, hey, Denmark is the happiest nation in the world, and then all the Danish people will be like, what? No.
Well, I also understand that what I've understand from the numbers is Denmark also has the most people using antidepressants, which I thought was kind of interesting. And it makes sense. Because everyone taking antidepressants, you're all real happy. So,
but I don't think antidepressants make you happy, though. But
no, but they make you fill out the form properly. So
yeah.
And then the news that reached the United States this week, Martin. My goodness, I hope you heard it, and I'm so happy to be speaking to a representative from your country.
Yeah, you have explaining to do on this one.
Yeah. So what reached our shores with great fanfare and went viral is a brand new kids television show in Denmark.
Oh, wow.
Featuring a man with the longest penis in the world. And I'm glad we have you to put that into context for us.
Yeah, give us your thought. What are you learning?
What are you learning, Martin? What are you learning about the man with the largest penis in the world?
So I've only seen trailers because, of course, it went viral. But yeah, it's John Dillermand, which is like John Willie.
John Willie, okay.
Yeah, so I think our national television station, they're always trying to push the boundaries, and I like that. And yeah, basically, I think what they're trying to say is that adults will see this as like sexualized, but kids in the target group, which is like between 5 and 8, they will not. They will just think it's funny. And
that's probably right. Yeah.
Well, clearly see on Facebook and stuff that is true. Children just is like, yeah, that's really funny.
That's very interesting. And I'm changing my thoughts on this. When I was growing up in the Netherlands, sexuality was a very different thing than it is today. It was, you go to the sport club, like play hockey or soccer, football, and there would be men and women dressing rooms and showers. I mean, this was, and now we're talking 40 years ago, longer than that, 45 years ago. But it was much more open, and people. I remember specifically, in fact, coming from the United States, how people who had disabilities were much more open in Europe. Whereas where we were coming from at the time, we were like, wow, that's someone who's really messed up. You didn't really see that in America. These people were kind of kept behind closed doors. And so there's been this interesting shift where the United States has gotten more open, I think much more open towards sexuality. But at the same time, the puritanical Americanism has kind of spread across the rest of the world. It's really odd.
Yeah.
So
that's definitely true.
Yeah. Now that I think about it, that long penis thing, there's something to it.
Okay. Well, you need to drop our new jingle then.
Oh, which one is that?
Yes, the jingle hot namespace talk.
Oh yeah, baby, here we go.
And now it's time for some hot namespace talk.
Is that Jennifer?
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's Dave Jennifer.
I got to hear that one more time. Let's just say, hey guys, we're here on the show.
And now it's time for some hot namespace.
That's right, ladies. Throw your panties on the stage. We're gonna show you the namespace.
She did that one for me on the sly on the download.
She is phenomenal. I love it.
Now she's national treasure.
Yes, national treasure. So, Martin. I'd love to know a little bit more about you, but maybe we just start with how you heard about Podcast Index and how you kind of jumped in and just your whole feeling about it, so we can understand. Because what we've seen from you is just nothing but a super nice, optimistic, positive guy who implements my dreams within 30 seconds. So you're on my real good side, really good side, because this is like, holy shit, I'm getting everything I asked for. Give us the background.
That's very nice words.
Well, I mean it. I mean, the Podfriend, the web app, now that I'm on, what's that damn OS I'm on? Graphene OS. I mean, it kicks ass. I have it as a web app, and it functions. It does everything I want it to do. I have feedback for you, but that's separate.
Yeah. It's funny, as you know, I used to be on Android, and everything was just working, and it was so nice. And then I got an iPhone as my primary phone, just also so I could do development. And it's just crap. It's only working in the browser, and there's so many problems developing for the mobile Safari. So
it really is interesting. I mean, even Dave, the river on Freedom Controller, sometimes my pinned articles will get stuck. But turns out that's not the server. It was the iPhone. The Safari browser can't handle that. And I did it on Graphene. It's like, boom, done. 3 seconds. Something's weird's going on with what they're doing. What do you think that is, Martin? They just hate us?
No, I think it's partly because mobile Safari is just not very good. I mean, I'm sure they have great developers, but I don't know if it's not prioritized. And then I think definitely progressive web apps are certainly not prioritized. I think it's because they see it like as a danger to their business model of the App Store.
Yeah,
it is. I mean, it totally is. That's not just that's not just fear. That's true. Because if progressive web apps become a strong competitor to native apps, I mean, that's a deal killer.
They talk a big game about it, though.
Yeah.
And that was Jobs' original vision, I think.
Yeah. But on the other hand, I don't know if you know, but on the Google Play Store, they're actually allowing progressive web apps in the store now. You can submit a progressive web app, and people can buy it and download it. That's amazing. That's cool. That's a dream. Yeah.
Huh. Very nice.
At all. Yeah.
And the same actually with the Microsoft Store. They're also, like, as a desktop app, they're also allowing it now. So I plan to submit Podfriend for that as well.
Oh, that's cool. Well, that is progressive.
How's the Mac app going? Is that I haven't had a chance to download it yet. I was going to do it last night.
Oh yeah, you got a nice plug there for Podfriend on Mac.
Yep. I think it's working out great, except I found out that the auto update will only work if it's signed. So everyone who's downloaded it so far, I will have to ask them to re-download it, and that's just sad. So I plan to get that done before I push it more. So,
okay, I've got a question for you on that, because if you did you initially push it through the website and not through the App Store?
Yeah, it's all through the web store, and you even have to right-click and press open just to avoid, like, to have Apple allow you to open it at all, which is fair, I think, like, to prevent it being malware and stuff.
How can you sign it if you're not does that mean you're going to have to put it in the Mac App Store, or you're just going to have to put a developer certificate on it?
I think you can do it outside the App Store if you sign it, but of course, I want to put it in the App Store. I've just been holding off because I definitely want the auto update to work before I do that.
Yeah, that because I don't know how it works. I know on the Windows side you can digitally sign any executable, but then on the Mac side I wasn't sure how that works, because I think in order to not get that prompt, I think it's not enough. And correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think it's enough to just sign it. I think you have to sign it and be on Apple's approved vendor list.
That might be true. Like, I haven't looked into it that much yet. I know you have to use Xcode, which is a pain because Windows is my platform of choice. So I have an old MacBook Pro, which I'm using for it, because the new M1 Mac Mini is not doing it. Like, some of the tools is not there yet, but I hope.
Yeah, I've got an M1, and I've struggled with some of it's like everything works, most of the stuff works, but then when you have to go in and, like, I was installing a Ruby developer environment, and a bunch of those things didn't compile, so you had to jump through a bunch of hoops to get it.
Yeah. Also, I just want to say that it's amazing that now this show, we covered namespaces, and now we can get, like, the hot developer talk as well, like, to scare off the last few people listening.
We're driving, you know our formula.
We're driving for zero audience on this show. We're really driving hard. So, Martin, tell us about yourself, man. Where do you live in Denmark? What do you do? We presume you have a day job.
Yeah, so I live in Copenhagen, or I guess for most people it will just be Copenhagen. I live just outside of Copenhagen, and I work as a product manager for a company called Trustpilot, which is, like, they do an online review platform, and it's great, but I just missed developing. Before joining Trustpilot, I had 20 years of programming experience, well, if not more, but yeah, I've just always been enjoying it, and suddenly I found myself, not coding, and it's like, I need something to do, and of course I have had other projects, but then I think roughly a year ago I started developing Podfriend, and I used the Apple API, as people did back then. And I actually looked through my old emails, and I found that on August 2020, I wrote James Cridland actually and said, "Hey James, you seem like the expert on podcasts. Like, what are options for podcast directories? Because Apple, their API is rate limited, so as soon as you have just a tiny bit of success, then
Listen to that, people. I didn't know that. What's the rate limit? I'd know. Oh, of course, because it would be from a central source or not. No.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. For you pulling it in. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it.
Can you pay? Can you pay to get more a higher rate limit from Apple?
No, but I actually wrote them because they do have an enterprise program where once a day you can get like a huge, I think, 10 gigabyte file of information, and that would be perfectly fine for me. But basically, they replied that they were being kind, but basically between the lines they said, "You're too small, Scram." And also they said that, if you're just making a podcasting app, then you're not interesting. You have to actually promote music and books and TV shows because it's a partnership program. It's not for podcasts, actually. And
I got you.
I was a bit depressed by that.
I can understand.
Yeah, and then in Pod News, when was it? I can't remember, but it was in September, I think. Suddenly James wrote there that Adam Curry is talking about making, podcasting 2.0, and I looked in my emails and I wrote you right after and say, hey,
oh really?
I want to be part of this, and then you put me in touch with Dave, and it was before the website was even live, and then it was just super easy to get started, and then the rest is history, as they say.
Yeah.
So that was amazing.
Yeah, and I've seen there's another app that I saw just launched called I think it was on Pod News today. It's got a horrible name, Tap Tape or something like that. And they seem to be using the Listen Notes API. And there was, I think that's a paid thing. It's like $100 and something a month or something like that. And that's another thing that we try to keep this thing free as much as we can, because even $100, if you're not making any money off your app, even $100 hurts. I mean, it hurts because you don't know how long it's going to last. It's like, well, okay, maybe I'll get some paid users, but if it lasts a year, that's like $1,200 out of my pocket that I can't get back. And it's not if you got it's not like you have, most of these people have VC backers or anything like that. I mean, you're trying to launch and, not lose your shirt on it at the same time. So, there may be other options out there, but they hurt.
September.
Yeah, definitely. I did actually look at Listen Notes back then, and I was thinking of starting to use Listen Notes, but the price model, when you're making software, you always have this dream. Maybe at some day it will just take off, and then I was just like, how much would that cost then? Would they just cut off access and then?
Yeah. Well, we think about that in the other way around, because we have people, like somebody contacted me a couple of days ago and asking, hey, I'm thinking about bringing a potentially bigger service to use the Index. Will y'all be able to handle that load? And I said, first of all, thank you for asking first.
Yeah.
Because that makes it, that was really nice. But then, it's like, we don't want to necessarily grow the Index super big, super fast, because we can't handle that either. I mean, the more people that use our service, the more it's going to cost us on monthly hosting and that kind of thing. So,
and Dave Jones bandwidth.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, you got to be careful about the way you scale things. Just the internet is a two-edged sword. It can allow you. It allows you the ability to scale way faster than you actually should. You got to kind of control that a little bit,
Well, we're experts at launching things slowly, Dave.
Slowly. I like your terminology there.
Squishy.
Yeah, there's definitely also a human factor for that as well. I mean, you might have noticed that in the start I developed insanely fast sometimes, and I think my girlfriend at one point called me possessed. Of course,
Wow.
She loves that I'm really passionate about it. But I think at one point it was more a sprint than for me, and now I think okay, it is actually a marathon. I need to move things slow. But,
I really want to thank you when I asked you to build the RSS builder. How you jumped on that was so incredibly kind, because you solved an enormous problem at that moment, and that was really above and beyond. And I just wanted to thank you again for doing that. And
yeah, no problem.
And
it's always a pleasure to make things that will actually solve a problem and is getting used. I hope I can improve it even more, because I think right now it ended in a bit of a black hole. But I hope we can expand upon it even more in the future.
Definitely. And so I'm actually looking at the email. It was September 2nd when I got your first email. Interestingly enough, it's very nice to reread that. I completely forgotten about that. Now, what I like the most about your work is you are, to me, a perfect example of developers. Really, it's an art and a science, and it's not just what you're doing with the code under the hood, but you're also kind of a really good designer. I mean, you design interfaces that I think, firstly, you design them real fast. Do you have experience with this?
I mean, you should see. I think I actually have a screenshot on my desktop that shows how many iterations I go through sometimes. I think I had like over 20 different variations of the front page of the mobile app, and I think I drove my girlfriend crazy one time at like sending her like, we don't live together, so I kept sending her on chat like, what about this one or this one?
Oh, yeah.
This one will be the final one.
You're out of control.
5 minutes.
You're out of control.
Yeah.
She needs to shut you down.
Martin's girlfriend's like, hey, I'll get back to you. I'm watching that new TV show with the guy with the super long penis, and I'll be right back. Got to be careful, man. You can't leave your woman alone. Can't let it consume you.
That is true. Oh, yeah.
I'm trying not to be too fanboyish, because I really enjoy so much what you've done, and it is my daily driver. I mean, I try to use every single app that comes out of the out of our development, and some actually I use in different use cases, like PodStation. I use in the studio all the time, because it's a browser extension. Pop, boom, you got something right away. It's incredibly handy for me. Hypercatcher, of course. I use for currently for creating the chapters. But I also asked my wife, Tina, said, yeah, I want you to use, because she's a fan of Tim Pool. She likes Megyn Kelly, of course, No Agenda Show, MoFax. She does not listen to the hot namespace talk. She has tried. It's appreciated. But I said, well, I'd like you to try Podfriend. And these are the things that you really find out, right? And now she will be very honest with me. And she says, no, I want you to tell Martin when you talk to him, I'm still using it. I really, really like it. She had 2 pieces of feedback for you.
Yeah.
One, she says she would really love some kind of explainer video or something that just quickly shows the main features, because she found them hard to discover. Which I'm sure is, and we talked about the mini player, which she had no idea. And I see you've changed things, and the flow feels better. I can't quite even put my own finger on it. So that was one piece of feedback. But the funniest one this morning was, how come I can't create a chapter on it? I'm like, ooh, okay.
Oh.
Yeah. so I can definitely talk to that. Like the onboarding, like actually learning how to use the app is something that I definitely want to do. Like I actually shared the podcast app on both my Facebook profile and my LinkedIn profile, and I felt really bad doing that, because I was like, oh, there's so many things that are not done, and I think giving people an introduction to how to use it, like even just something as simple as like a arrow pointing, like search for a podcast here and then click, and that, like I will definitely do that.
I'm a fan of those kinds of tutorials. I like that better than a video myself. I like that too.
Yeah, as long as there's a skip button for the power users.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But I think my to-do list is like, insanely long. Like every time I get an idea, I write it down, and I try to be selective to select or to develop a little bit of quality of life that just makes the app better, a little bit of new things that will, give it a bit of exposure, like then you will share the link or the news, like because something is new and interesting, and also things that will just move it forward, like the login. So that's not interesting in itself, but as soon as I have the synchronization done between the mobile and the desktop app, then it's interesting. So I try to split out, and then of course there are things where it's a little bit hit and miss. Like I've worked a lot on the chat lately, and it's working nice. But then I'm thinking, like, how many people will actually use like a real-time chat? Maybe it would be better with like a feed structure. But now it's there, and I haven't released it yet. But
what are you using for the back end for that?
So I programmed my own server, of course, as you do. But no, that was a joke, because I did actually consider using the RC because that would be nice. But in the end, it was kind of easier for my own purposes to work my own, because then I know I can save each chat message with a timestamp for the specific point in the episode and things like that. But
that's a lot of data.
But on the other hand, but on the other hand, then it's like, do I really want to do that? Do I want to save the conversations, or do I just want it to be a live chat? Because I also want to make it into a widget so that I can tell podcast hosts, hey, grab this chat widget and put it on your own website.
Yeah,
people can
there you go. That's a good idea. So I haven't completely, finished that, but I do hope that over the next couple of weeks that to finish the chat. And then there's the matter of the chapters, which I think is interesting, because I made the whole chapter builder thing, which was not really a success, and it's not that nice to use. I think I could easily improve it, but as I wrote on podcastindex.social, that right now there's like this competition that the Hypercatcher is really good at, like the chapters and the community chapters, and I felt like, hey, if I build something like that, it's just like a me too. I really want to solve like how we can work together as apps to share these chapters. Like that's what big. I would like to solve. I agree. Yeah. I'm glad you're thinking that way, because Mo Fax he gives me a lot of feedback on he's a real YouTuber, and he's a little more down. He always said, Adam, I'm giving you something from the street, man. You got to listen up for podcasting 2.0. And without a doubt, the ability to chat is huge. That's what YouTube gives, but also there's this new app. It's iOS only. I think it's called, it's not Cloud Share. It's, he told me about it. It's on waitlist right now. But that's pretty much listening to your favorite podcasts. And I think there's some kind of simultaneous chat. He says that's bubbling under. But really, anyone who can solve the cross app problem of a chat is going to really invigorate the entire ecosystem. That would be huge.
Mm-hmm. I did think about just making open endpoint, so that if people want to implement the chat, then they can just do that in their own client and just call like send message and get messages.
Right.
But then I'm like, that's not really open. That's just very centralized on my server, and I'm not even ready to become that centralized point. So
no, you don't want that.
No. I've looked at things. There is I think it's called matrix.org, and I haven't tried it, so it might be horrible. But I think they're trying to be like a distributed chat. So I would love to try something like that, where like they're a non-profit also, I think. And
well, I think the Lightning stuff really affects. That comes into play too, because
I agree.
One thing you see with Sphinx is that the real sort of revolutionary thing that they did was charging per message. And if you charge like a tiny little amount, tiny little micro payment per message, it doesn't really you it's small enough to where you don't think about it. You're not thinking, oh my God, this is expensive, I'm not going to chat very much. You chat freely because it's really not costing you very much at all. But there's also that anti-spam protection because you can't just spam and like if you just mouth off and put a bunch of racist comments into something, I mean, it's going to get deleted and you're going to lose your money.
Yeah, and what's cool about what they put in is they have this concept of a stake. So if you look at it, when you post a message, it doesn't cost you 1 Satoshi. It can cost you 51 Satoshi, some even more. So, and so you get that back, the extra 50 after a set amount of time, which I think standard is 2 hours. So if within that 2 hours you turn into an incredible douchebag or you're spamming, then you can be blocked from the group and then you lose all the stake money that you put in. So, and I think it works. And what's interesting is even when you join one of those Sphinx tribes and you see, hey, it costs 10 sats to send a message. I'm like, wow, do I really want to send a message? And it's 10 Satoshis, it's like nothing. It's a speck of dust, but still so it really has a psychological effect. And I think what Dave is saying is that, we're not there yet, but man, we're getting damn close because that, what people would call Web 3.0, I really am seeing this type of blockchain, particularly for the, for a decentralized community type thing. And even what Brian of London is doing with this Hive blockchain. Yeah. That's also something we should look at. I mean, that seems you also pay money for that. I don't know how well it would integrate.
Maybe open cross app chat runs on Hive or something. I mean,
it could.
Because that's the thing is, when you're talking, Martin, I'm thinking immediately of all the ways that, that is going to, number one, is going to be abused.
It's going to hurt.
It's high volume.
It's going to hurt.
And then you also have this idea of like, okay, well then you're going to have some sort of moderation because you're going to have some whack job come in and start spewing out, a bunch of racism or something like that. So then you're going to, that's going to be on your dime to shoulder. But then if you go back to sort of like this decentralized pay per message stake a certain amount of money anti-spam type deal, then what it does is it lets the community moderate itself. And you don't have to have some sort of top-down moderation where did you see like on a Twitter where they're having to it's on them to moderate their platform. If the messages cost you money and there's a way to stake it and revert it, then the community can police itself, and you don't have to do that.
Yeah, I think every time I build a feature, I always think, okay, how much headache is this going to cause me in the future? Because I've had ideas like for people to like. I love true crime podcasts. That's my dirty secret.
Now we see what you highlight on the homepage. We know what's going on with you. Yeah, we see that.
Yeah, exactly. So and in those, I always like. That's actually one of the reasons also why I started Podfriend. I was like, I wanted to have like preferably interactive content, but also just content like the chapters and things like that. And going even further than that, so you could see like, let's say a timeline and you could scroll in it and you could see a map and all these things that are things that I want to look at some point. And hopefully, in an open fashion. But yeah,
that's the secret to the best software. I mean, the best software is the software that the developer
uses himself.
Created for his or herself and uses on a daily basis, because when they're using their own app and it's going to be good because they're going to have the same issues that you have.
Exactly. And I do use Podfriend every day, like both on the desktop, which is also one of the driving factors because I work and when I program, I love listening to podcasts sometimes, and I was really lacking a good desktop app as well. So that was also one of the motivations. And then now I've been working from home since last March. So I try to always take a daily walk for close to an hour, and I listen to podcasts there as well. So that's on the mobile then. So it's good to get that mixed usage of your own product. Yeah. Going. Yeah, sorry.
Go ahead, Martin.
Yeah, okay. I was just going back to like the rich content that I was considering like, oh, okay, so users need to be able to upload photos as well and stuff. And I was just thinking, that probably means that I would have to look through every single image that is ever uploaded. That's
you
not
that.
a nice thought. No.
Just as I think I've mentioned this to you before, but well, two things. One, thank you both for fixing your latest episodes bug, because I was trying to. I was noticing it too. Like, why don't I see pod news here? And I was seeing other things. I didn't know what I was missing really, and I was like, something's wrong. So you guys figured that, and this morning I was delighted. Like, whoa, okay,
yeah, that was my fault.
And thank you for the interface to my car.
That's awesome.
Oh no, it's beyond. It's so nice. I don't have to connect anything, and I just hit the media button, which knows it's looking for a Bluetooth. It connects. It picks up where I was playing when I had it on my earphones. The only thing that would be super super duper is if album art and chapter art came through and displayed, but that may be more challenging.
Yeah, so I've really tried to solve that, and it's just not possible. And it's not because of like the Podfriend app. It is because Android
universal
is simply not
sending it. Yeah.
And maybe I would guess if it's a native app, then it would show up. Maybe. So I have hopes that as soon as you know, I bundle it together as a native app, then maybe it will come through. So. Let's cross our fingers.
I'm just saying it's more about how phenomenal it would be to be in the car listening and then see the image change. I mean, that's how sad my life is. But really, I would be so happy. Like, oh, it changed.
Yeah. No,
so are you gonna go to a native app at some point, Martin?
Yeah. So it's actually interesting because Podfriend at one point did have a native app for iOS and Android. I just never released it, and I made, like, you might know that the web app and the desktop apps are in React, and then the mobile apps I made in React Native, and that allowed me to reuse like a lot of the code, but not all. Like all the UI you have to code from scratch, and it's just, maintaining these two versions. Then I just decided, you know what, I want to make really sure that the core of the app is good before I commit to whenever I make a feature that I make it in two versions instead of one version. So I decided to hold a little bit back on the native app, but I've found other tech things like there's just to go completely geeky, Apache Cordova that allows you to pack a normal web app into a mobile app, and I'm hoping that maybe I can use that to just have one version, because that would be extremely awesome. Because when you're just one developer and your to-do list is already like 10 miles long, then you're just always looking for like, how can I work smarter instead of harder? Because
that's going to be a lot of work to the UI is what takes 90% of the effort in any software. I mean, you can have it's like it's doing 5% of the work, but it takes 95% of the effort.
Yeah, definitely. I can already feel it now. Like I'm finally starting to get like some solid UI components, like a Podfriend component library done. So when I make things, I can reuse them. But when I have to do new stuff, for example, like if I had to do this onboarding, showing like this is how you get started, then it just takes time. Yeah, that's for sure.
We need a new jingle. And now, sexy component library talk.
Yep.
That's Dame Jennifer.
Did you, Martin? Part of our mission, or part 2 of our mission, is to retool podcasting as a platform of value for all parties. What are your thoughts on that in general? I know you're familiar with the Lightning stuff. I know it's not, you can only focus on so much. What are your thoughts in general?
So actually, let me just cover the first part of your mission statement, the open
platform for free speech.
Free speech, yeah. That I just think that it's so important. Like I've had conversations with some of my friends and colleagues that know that I'm doing Podfriend, and they're like, well, free speech, like, it's not that important. But like when you look around the world, it's just, you look at China with their, social platform where you get points for being a good citizen, and you can lose your travel privileges if you're not. And you look at Russia and the opponent of the states, they'll get poisoned and stuff, and the media, they're not really reporting on it, and they're at least afraid of it. And it's so important. Like even in Denmark, where we are, we feel like, oh, we have a free press and everything. It's like, yeah, but we also have to fight for it. So.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, man. I think you're a big part of that mission, and the reason why we've been talking about mission number 2 is because I feel we have already achieved the foundation, and with developers like you and all the plethora of developers we have, and the hosters and everything, we're doing it. I mean, we are absolutely doing it. It's happened. It's really. We should all be very proud of that.
Yeah, and then the value part. I definitely plan to monetize Podfriend at some point if I can, and I haven't really figured out why. How. And I would love to do the lightning node. It's simply just outside of my area of expertise, and I would just be very careful throwing my resources. Well, resource in
sure, of course, your cycles,
not plural,
at it before I feel that Podfriend in itself is like good enough that it can actually drive to get users. Like, I'm actually surprised every time I get an email and someone is using it and asking, hey, can I get a sleep timer, or hey, can I get, and I'm like, oh, people are using it. Oh,
that's
wow.
and that's
amazing.
That's interesting. Just last night, I was hoping for a sleep timer because I wanted to listen to this one podcast. I knew I would fall asleep, and I know that the default is to go to the next episode. Like, oh, I wish I got to remember to ask Martin about a sleep timer.
Well, now you did, and it is already there. You just have to click the 3 dots, and then there's a set sleep timer. It's hidden behind the 3 dots. I guess that could be.
How long has it been in there? I thought I checked that last night.
It's been in there a month or so, I think. Someone else was asking for it.
Huh.
But yeah, that's the.
Oh, you're right. Here it is. Set sleep timer. Duh. Oh my god. Oh my god.
But actually, that highlights the ever existing problems of user interfaces. Like, okay, you want to hide some of the things that are not used that much, but then how do people find them? And
that's crazy because I was looking for it and I thought I tapped on the 3 dots. Well, there you go.
Do you think you'll support? Would you support video at any point?
It does support video, actually.
Yeah,
if you search for Geek News Central podcast and then they have a video version, then you can actually see it in video.
I've always been baffled by this. Now, because people and I'm glad you brought that up, and that many people have approached me on email, etc., social media, saying, "Oh, you got to do this for video," and so fuck YouTube. And I say 2 things. For one, as far as I know, every podcast app can play video as long as it's within a certain format realm. And secondarily, it's never going to be like YouTube because inherently it's not an algorithm, and that's what makes YouTube. And we're kind of in this interesting place where I see this entire infrastructure. And I can see the same infrastructure being used for music. I can see the same infrastructure being used for video. It's whatever a developer decides to surface and how to to focus their energy. And I was going to wonder if you were, maybe you need to do like one of your home banners, your latest episodes, your latest podcast, maybe latest video podcast to show people that it exists. And that it works, because it works fine. I agree. It works super well.
Yeah, I think that's actually a great idea. I think I've actually already asked Dave if he could make an endpoint for me with latest videos, or maybe I just thought about it. But yeah.
Oh, if you did, I dropped the ball. I'm sorry.
No, maybe I just thought about it. But I think what's interesting, like in the video podcast, is that it just works smoothly. But actually answering Dave, like. I think it was Adam maybe that like all podcast app could play videos. No, that's actually not true. Like it's not that many apps actually that have implemented it, and I think it's just because maybe people don't think about that, like a podcast as a video. But yeah, I think
I know some of them can play. They'll play the video, but they won't show they'll just play the audio. They play the video file, but you can't see it.
Yeah, and I just popped up the new media. Okay. I just popped up the new media show in video. Works perfectly. I mean, yeah, Martin. I would love to. Let's get that. If we get that endpoint going, that'd be great. Because I'd love to just see what's rotating. Mm-hmm. You know what's unique about the web app. And I think, when I hear people, there's lots of conversation. Well, when I'm in an airplane, this won't happen. Statistics won't happen. Payments won't happen. All that stuff. And I'm saying to myself, the world is, you get on an airplane. Who's not connected on the airplane anymore? Everybody's connected on the airplane. And it's only going to get better. There's only going to be more bandwidth, more connectivity, etc. 5G, besides frying our brains, will have connectivity everywhere. And the problem with podcast apps and why they've not, I think, probably been wary of supporting video is device storage, because the default is to download a subscription and then have it for which was necessary. This was the whole way podcasting came into life, and the enclosure element was to download something to present a better experience for the so you have there's a new show, click play, it works immediately. That's no longer necessary. This is streaming. I'm not storing anything on my device when I'm watching the new media show. It's streaming, and that'll stream just fine to me. So I think there's a revolution waiting to happen here for video.
I think I had two thoughts on what you said there. One, like the whole web app that blah blah blah, and I think for Podfriend at least the web app itself is not the selling point. But I think it's amazing that there is a web point. But I'm thinking, hey, the web app is there so you can just try it out, and because I think people are very careful just getting new apps and stuff. I even saw like on the phones, the average install rate per month is 0 apps. Like that's how few new apps people actually install.
Right.
So here you can try it out, and then once you're like, hey, Podfriend, it works great. Then I'll start putting up a banner like saying, hey, it looks like you're using iPhone. You should get the app.
Right.
Or it looks like you're using Windows, and then you can easily transition over to the native experience.
Can I make you a marketing suggestion?
Yeah.
I would remap the player to podfriend.com and then put your messaging in there instead of web.podfriend.com.
Yeah, I will definitely do that. And it is, I do plan to do that because suddenly I actually had a talk with one of my friends about it. Like, what do I actually need podfriend.com for? Like this almost business-like website, just show what it can do, and so
exactly.
It would be a bit like if Twitter had like a front page that's like explained fully on like how social media works. Maybe they do, but yeah.
Hey, podcasting is a new feature in the media landscape.
Yeah. Well, and then regards to actually downloading video podcasts, of course, I guess some probably is 4K now and stuff, but actually mobile phones do have a lot of space now.
Sure they do.
Yeah. I don't see that as a.
I mean, I'm waiting for someone to show up who says, I see all these video podcasts. Here's an apparent endpoint that gives me video podcasts. Why don't I just create a front end that looks like YouTube? And then maybe I'll throw an algo in the back, and you don't have to call it podcasting. That's fine with me too. I don't care.
Yeah, that's the thing we thought about. Do you remember, Adam, when we were first putting the skeleton up of the podcast index homepage, and we had the carousel that was kind of lame. But I was noticing that the first thing that hits you is that sometimes a video podcast would pop up, and you're thinking, it's like, well, okay, you have most recent here. You could easily change that algo up a little bit, And then you basically just reinvented TikTok, but in an open distributed RSS way.
Yep. And
everybody's posting videos,
and it's just a different wrapper. I mean, this is the thing that always gets me. It's like, especially when we get payments working, man, you can do it for all kinds of stuff, but it's everyone. And this is a testament to you, Martin. Most people are stuck in the Gmail inbox model when it comes to podcast apps. That's just how it always has worked.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a shame, because once you smoke some weed and get out of the box, then you're like, oh man, we could do all this other stuff.
Mm.
And just create a YouTube looking thing. And have this, it's the same mechanisms everywhere. The only difference is it only does video, and it has an algorithm that presents things to you that you may or may not like. That's really
I could definitely see, Podfriend having like a toggle in the top where you switch between audio and video or something, and then whatever you're in the mood for, it's like,
different experience.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe even like I also thought about, because there are API endpoints out there like for audiobooks and stuff, and I thought, that's quite close. Like maybe introducing that as well. Like just yeah.
See, I think we're going to change our names to this. This is not going to be the Podcasting 2.0 show anymore. This is going to be Audiobooks 2.0. because if Audible can claim that their exclusive shows is podcasts, then I can claim that podcasts are audiobooks. If we're just making up words.
Yeah.
No, audiobooks is a great untapped territory for podcasting, I think.
Yeah, I think so, because, I think a lot of people, when they like listening to podcasts, that's probably the same time where they could be listening to an audiobook.
Yeah, sure.
And like when they're out walking or on their commute to work or something. And for me, like sometimes I like listening to, for example, true crime. Sometimes I like listening to a show about podcasting. Sometimes I like just listening to the news, but I could definitely see myself listening to an audiobook at some point. So I think they're a good fit, and it's also one way, that could be a monetization, because most audiobooks cost money. So it could be like taking a cut there or something. But yeah, currently on the brainstorm level, but yeah.
Do we want to pause and do a donation?
I was just going to say, let's remind everybody that the entire podcastindex.org project, including this podcast, is under the value for value model. It's real simple. If there's anything that we're doing here that gives you value, adds value to your life, whether it's just enjoyment of listening to this, you might be just a podcast listener who wants to see podcasting preserved as a platform for free speech. There's all kinds of reasons. Just turn that into a number and send it to us. That's it. And value can only be determined by you. If it's whatever the value is, we'd love to see that, and we love receiving that in exchange, and we love doing what we do. And that includes thanking the people who have supported the project this week. Dave's got his crumple paper list.
I do. It's right here.
Mm-hmm.
This makes me happy. The very first donation, $50 from Ed Ryan. Nice. Ed Ryan is who interviewed me for the Podcast Business Journal.
Oh man, that's so cool. A, thank you. B, I've never succeeded in doing that after an interview. So hey man, here's some money for your project. Nice. Well done, Dave. More interviews for Dave.
Thank you. He's had a message that said, Dave and Adam, thanks for everything you guys do for the industry. Ed Ryan, Radio Inc. and Podcast Business Journal.
Nice. Thank you. Thanks for propagating our formula.
Let's see. We got here's another donation for $25 from Daniel Navetta. Daniel Navetta. My bad. And Daniel says, the Podcast Index project is becoming more important every day. Adam, for once, I think you got your product timing right on instead of 10 years too soon. Please keep up the work in preserving free speech.
I don't know, man. We're on the cutting edge of the key send lightning payments. I hope I'm not 10 years too early for that one.
Yeah, I'm going to editorialize and say that's to be determined.
Right.
Yeah.
We try to do better. Try to be better.
Raphael Negron sent us $10, and he has no notes. So thank you, Raphael.
Thank you, Raphael.
Yeah. Let's see. Is there a note on this one? Yes. Stephen Santoni. He gave us $5 and said, kicking in when I can. I'm just a podcast listener.
Great. Thank you, Stephen. Appreciate that.
Well, we're just a podcast API creator.
That's all we are, man. That's all we are.
And that's it. That's our guest for this week.
Well,
short list, but the value is coming in and love it. And thank you so much. If you want to contribute to the entire proposition, go to podcastindex.org, scroll down to the bottom. There's a big red donate button. You can also donate through a lightning payment. And thank you all very much. And everybody who is on the recurring subscriptions, which we see you. It keeps everything running, and it keeps the dream alive. Well, considering that Dred Scott said that last week's show sucked, then I think that was pretty good to get 4 donations. I mean, we're trying.
Yeah, we are ahead of the curve.
He dropped a. Do you see the "You've Been Defragmented" clip in there? He dropped us that too.
So this, if someone gives a donation for the first time, is that what this is?
I guess so.
You've been defragmented.
Is that his kid?
You've been defragmented.
That's almost a ringtone.
You've been defragmented.
People like,
it's
what?
It's a Oompa Loompa.
Oompa Loompa, hoopa baby.
You've been defragmented.
Oh, I love that. That's great.
No, not. But I mean, considering that this week's episode has Martin on it.
It's through the roof. Through the roof.
Flood.
Obvious. Through the roof. Martin, what can we? Do you have any anything we can do for you specifically? Do you have any vision that you'd like to see us look at, work on? I mean, I'm sure you have dreams.
Yeah. What do you want in the namespace?
Hold on.
And now it's time for some hot namespace talk.
All right. Bring in that Danish.
That's amazing.
Danish.
No, I think every time I want something, I write Dave, hey, could this be, possible? And then he writes back, oh yeah, give me 5 minutes, and then he comes back with an endpoint.
Unless it's a recent videos endpoint, and that one doesn't ever get done.
Yeah. So my latest idea when I was working on the community chapters for Podfriend, because I have started working on it, was that hey, it could be amazing if you could like use other tags as a chapter, so you could like give a location as a chapter, or you could give a person as a chapter. So, that was one thing I was thinking, but yeah, because then the chapter could be a Google map where you could scroll and zoom. That would actually be pretty nifty. But yeah.
Whoa! Oh, I'm wrapping my brain around that one. So you put elements of other namespace elements referred into a separate into a different element.
I don't know exactly how it would work since this
is namespace inception, and it's going to break everything's going to be destroyed if you can't do this.
Exactly.
It's going to rip the space-time continuum.
Yep.
Okay.
No, but no. I think I try to keep up with the GitHub, with the namespace talk. Sometimes I get a little bit caught up in development, and then I take a break from it. But there's so many things that are interesting and happening, and if something goes against something, where I have a strong opinion, like how it should work, for example, the person tag, I did have some strong opinions on that. Then I butt in, and otherwise I'm just, this looks like it's on the right track. You know what? I'm not gonna bother.
Are you happy with the way that turned out with the podcast person tag?
Yeah, so I'm happy. The only thing that I'm sad about, and we had a talk about that early on, is that I would still love to be able to click, for example, Adam Curry, and then see all the podcasts he's been in, all the episodes. So I do still think we need that somehow a unique ID. But I don't know how to do it without a centralized thing. But that would still be amazing. You
want to give me a number?
Yeah, so basically, somehow of identifying. It could be a barcode on your forehead.
Thank you. Yes. He is on board. He's got our humor, Dave. Dave and I were already like, well, you want the number, mate?
If you didn't say it, I was about to.
Yep.
It's a QR code right there on the palm.
QR code right there, baby. Beautiful. Scan me.
Oh, yes. No, but it would be nice, like, because I could definitely see the user experience, like that. I'm clicking, hey, this guy, Martin Mouritzen, who has been on the Podcasting 2.0, which other podcasts has he been in? Of course, none.
Right.
This is the first time I've ever in a podcast, but, in the future, it could be cool.
Yeah, I mean, and in the future, I mean, everybody already does have a number, of course. We have credit card numbers, social security numbers, phone numbers, we have all kinds of numbers. I hope that in the future, every citizen who is born or enters the United States and becomes a citizen receives a Bitcoin ID. Here's your Node ID, and welcome to the country, citizen. And then, and that's your ID. And you can use it for payments, for authentication, for all kinds of stuff.
That's actually, interesting because, like, for dictatorships and stuff, they could actually really use that. Like, okay, so you spent how much money on propaganda this week?
Well, and you know what, Martin, and this is not exactly the right form for it, but yeah, I see that coming. And it's going to be the central bank digital coins, and they're going to have complete control over your money. They already have a lot of control over it now, but it's going to be very easy. It's going to be like, oh, the government just gave me Venmo. I love it. And you're going to feel real good about it until they, start to do things that you won't feel good about. And Bitcoin, doesn't have that restriction. It has all the benefits, but without the restriction. It's actually interesting. Some Danish banks actually reject your payment if you're trying to buy Bitcoin. Really? Man.
Yeah.
Wow.
So there's a lot of people that are unhappy about that. Like my bank hasn't declined any payments yet. So I hope
well, that's proof that some of the Danish are unhappy.
True.
Mythbusters.
It's a lie.
I think a lot of Danish people are very great at complaining. Maybe that makes people happy. Just to complain.
Yeah, that's funny. So we're getting off topic here, but I have a buddy who does mission work, and he went over the summer. He went to Japan, and he said,
"How did he even get in?"
I don't remember. It was this. No, I'm sorry. This wasn't over the summer. This was towards the end of last year, right before the pandemic. I think it was January, December.
Sure.
Of last year.
Okay.
And so he said that the suicide problem in Japan is so bad that they have like little signs that light up or something like this. Somebody will have to correct me on this, but he said that there's some way of signaling to the passengers on their trains that they've had to, when the train stops, they had to stop because of a suicide.
Oh, wow.
People jumping in front of the train.
In the Netherlands, this happens quite regularly. And the code, which is well known amongst citizens now, is when they say, we have a delay, the train's going to stop because we have some problems with the overhead wiring. That, in fact, is code that someone jumped on the tracks.
Okay, yeah. So it's something similar to that in Japan, and I'm wondering if it's because if there's validity to what you're saying, Martin. I mean, like if you're free to just express your anger and complain about something freely, then you get it all out, and then you're fine, you're happy, But if you have to suppress it like an honor culture type thing, it just festers and.
How is that? Yeah. How is that? If you don't mind me asking, since we're way off topic, how is that politically in Denmark? Of which I know nothing about the different parties and the different movements. But do you feel? Does everyone like here? I would say in the United States, there's and good point, Dave. That's the biggest problem. Is there's a large group of people who are apprehensive or maybe even afraid to express their opinions, not even politically, but social justice warriorly. And I think that's the worst thing. It's the worst thing that can happen is when people are afraid to speak their mind. How is that in Denmark? Is everyone free and they feel free to do that, or is it similar?
I think people are actually quite free to express. And we have a much more nuanced political system than the US. Like, we don't have a two-party system. We have, I don't know, 10 or something.
Yeah, you get a parliamentary system, right?
Yeah, exactly. Where that helps bring this,
where no one's happy in the end.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because, you know, some of the small parties, you know, suddenly in one election they will get like, you know, 10% of the votes just because they have like some things like where they like I know a lot of parties competed like being more and more racist because that was like the zeitgeist at some point.
This is the cool thing to do. All the kids were doing it.
Yeah. And then of course like all the mainstream parties they didn't do it, but then, you know, there'll always be something popping up. But I do in general think that people are, I won't say completely free, but a lot more free to like express their points of view.
Good. Yeah, that's my feelings on it. Has been for a long time. I'm just full disclosure. I don't vote. I haven't voted in 20 years on any election. I've completely opted out of all that. I'm an Emma Goldman fan. If voting changed anything, they wouldn't let you do it.
That'd be illegal.
Yeah. And so, but you know, that's the whole thing with me. Is my thing is people are the most equal when they're the most free, and when if you restrict freedom, even in slight amounts, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, even in small quantities, immediately equality goes way down. Because I believe that to every part of my being, and I think that's probably the fight that all people will be fighting as things go forward, sort of from here on out, is that trying to preserve equality through some measure of freedom.
Well, what I see. Go ahead, Martin.
No, it was just a funny thing. Well, more tragic. But I remember it's probably like 4 or 5 years ago when there was the whole, you know, that Apple was like the people in China that was assembling the phones, they were committing suicide on the factories. And the way they solved it was not by improving conditions. It was put nets around it, so that and then all the employees had to sign a contract that said they wouldn't commit suicide while on the job. And it's like, oh, wow.
It's so many forms to fill out. Please don't kill yourself on our premises. Yeah. Well, what I see and what I love so much is I look at podcastindex.social, which is really the petri dish of the whole project. And I see all these people from different countries, different backgrounds, and it's just beautiful to see everyone's like kind of working on the same thing. Do we butt heads? Yeah, sure, once in a while. That's cool, but it's a very, very, very productive civil group.
Yeah, I also love that there are so many different people, like James Cridland, who represents like the news side, and then we have you know, a few people that are just I just listen and, you know, I give my opinion, and then we have a lot of developers, and I love, you know, reading what other developers are doing, and you can, you know, like me and Dave, we were sitting there giving advice to David J. Lewis yesterday about DNS, and it's just a great community, and I really hope it's growing. So yeah, if anyone is listening and you're interested in podcasting or developing, you should really join. It's amazing.
It's free. It's free to join. It's free.
Yeah,
costs nothing. Yeah.
Speaking of Daniel Jason Lewis, his that's his new middle name, Jason.
Oh no, it's Jason. Yeah, Daniel Jason Lewis. Yeah.
He gave me early access to his new APIs. I think it's the Podcast Industry Insights API, Statistics API, and so he gave me some early access to check it out and do some testing on it and that kind of thing. And
how is it?
It's great. It's going to be really good. It's going to be really good. I wanted to give him some kudos on that because he's been working hard at it for a couple of months.
For a while. Yeah.
So that's going to be a really good product. I can vouch for it.
Yeah, but really, and just to reiterate, we want to, like we've had a lot of the hosting companies, we want to talk to all the developers and Dave Jones is in charge of bookings. So he's Dave at podcastindex.org, and you want to hit him up. And no, but I want to meet David from Hypercatcher. I want to meet the Pod Station guy. I want to talk to everybody. I mean, let's get it all. Let's get as much out there as possible. Your hopes, your dreams, etc. Which leaves you with the last word, Martin.
Yeah, and like being a guest only cost me 20% of my future earnings, so let's do it. No.
Brilliant.
No, I would just say thank you very much for having me. It was amazing to talk to you guys. And keep on doing the good work. I'm just so happy to be part of this community.
Well, we can't thank you enough, and I personally can't thank you enough because I really enjoy your product. It just fits perfectly in my life right now. So that's Martin Mouritzen. You can find him, most importantly, I would say podfriend.com. Any other places? At Martin at podcastindex.social. Any other places to promote for you?
No, I think podfriend.com and podcastindex.social. Those are the places to find me.
Okay, fantastic. Martin, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Martin.
Yeah, thank you.
Dave, anything for the last few minutes?
Oh, no, I don't think so. I got a stack of stuff here, but we wait. We'll do next week.
Yeah,
we'll do that next week.
Another board meeting next week. Again, thanks to our guest Martin Mouritzen and my co-founder and partner Dave Jones. Thank you. It was a good day. It's a good way to wrap up the week.
The Danes are happy. I feel happy right now.
I know, it's rubbing off. It's fantastic. That's it, everybody. Take some of that Danish love and go enjoy your weekend. We'll talk to you next week here on Podcasting 2.0.
You have been listening to Podcasting 2.0. Visit podcastindex.org for more information.
You've been defragmented.